Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Thunder Today YouTube channel. I am your host, Dylan Hibbard, and in today's video, we're going to continue our player predictions series. And in today, we're going to dive into Lou Dort and all of what we should expect from him. We'll also dive into a thing that a Thunder website is doing, and we're going to kind of go over the top 5 OKC players by each position, and we'll start with the point guards today. And then we'll also talk about how Jalen Williams, J-Dub, also no longer is wearing the wrist brace, which is good for many reasons, and we'll dive into that. And then at the end, we'll do our trade rumor and off-season stuff at the end. But once again, we're going to start with our player predictions, and we're going to start off with Lou Dort. If you haven't watched the 3 previous videos, we've gone over the big 3 of Shea, J-Dub, and Chet, and now we're getting into Lou Dort. And Lou Dort's in a very interesting spot this upcoming season and the Thunder in general, because we know how much Lou Dort means to the team in general. He's probably, if not the best defender on the league, probably number 2 on the team just for pure defensive stoppage and stuff like that. But the thing is Lou Dort is eligible for an extension, and if he does get extended, will he take a longer contract with less money annually? Because it feels like the Thunder are basically with the Big Three's contract hitting this upcoming offseason, and you're not really able to pay guys. I don't think Isaiah Hartenstein will get it just because he's going to be making nearly 30. You kind of have to make your decision between Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, and Isaiah Hartenstein on who's going to get that extension, or if you want to bring back more than one of them, you're probably going to be taking hits in the aprons and possibly a second apron hit. So for the Thunder and Lou Dort specifically, you're kind of having to look at it from who performs better this year between Lou Dort and Wallace, because we know Wallace is younger, but he's also smaller. Lou Dort can body up bigger guys, and Lou Dort's been around him. He's been loyal to the team since 2020, since Shea has been here with Chris Paul and all that. And I think he deserves his payday, but it's also we're in a tough spot where he can't really get that much. He's expected around $20 million some odd dollars. So if you're able to renegotiate a contract where you're only paying him 15, maybe you can convince him to stay on that and possibly get Cason Wallace on a team-friendly deal if that's at all possible. But going from a Lou Dort and what to expect from him, I think we see a lot of what we've seen over the past few years, and that's just superb defense and Lou Dort going out there every single day and guarding the team's best perimeter player, whether it be the point guard or a forward or whatever that might be. He's usually going to be on one of the 2 best players whenever he's out on the court, and he just causes so much trouble on the ball, and he plays such hard defense that it starts to get in players' heads, and they just kind of start fumbling, and then they start fouling him, and then that's when he starts taking those bumps and then getting calls for the Thunder to get the ball back. And we know from on the offensive side of things, we're not going to get anything crazy out of him. We're going to get those games where he goes off and he hits big 3 or 4 big threes that kind of propels us into the lead or whatever it might be and kind of clinching the game. So we never expect to see anything massive on the offensive side of it. It's mainly, what do you expect from Lou Dort on the defensive side? Is he going to be an All-NBA first team defender? He's going to be one of the best perimeter players in the league, and I think we continue to see that. And if we start seeing a down year, if we see a down year where he's shooting terrible from 3, his defense is still good, but his offense is so bad, we might have to make that tough decision of being like, you either got to take a pay cut on this or we're not going to be able to bring you back, and this is going to be it, just because of how the salary stuff is working now for the Thunder. But now we'll kind of transition into talking about what are the top 5 players at each position for OKC in history. And today we're talking about the point guards, and this is a list that has come out on the OKC community page. And it starts off with number 5 being Dennis Schroeder, number 4 being Josh Giddey, and number 3 being Chris Paul. Those are your 3 guys that are not comparable to Shea and Westbrook, but those are guys, especially Chris Paul, learned a lot, was able to teach Shea so much that has led him into being the star he is today. Dennis Schroeder was also a part of that 2020 team. He actually goes under the radar a lot for that team, but he was actually a very, very good player for the Thunder when he was in there. And then you had Giddey. if for some reason, if you aren't a fan before this, which I hope most of you were, Giddey was the point guard and Shea was running the 2 when Giddey was still on the team, because Giddey was the better passer and ball handler. So Shea was really running the 2. That's why they have Giddey there. But for your top 2, they have Westbrook number 2 and Shea number 1. I feel like we've all kind of agreed that Westbrook will be always the favorite Thunder player ever, just because he did so much for the team. But Shea has brought that championship now, and that will reign supreme over anything that Westbrook and KD has done for this team, just because it is the first championship that we brought, and he was the main piece and the main reason that we won that championship. But I mean, I really just agree with the list overall. I think you hit the nail on the head with all the point guards. I think in at least OKC history, you don't really have anybody else that you can consider being in those top 5s as well. And then tomorrow we'll dive in to the shooting guards list, which is a bit more interesting as well. But we'll kind of transition into talking about how J-Dub no longer has the wrist brace on his wrist. A video came out of him with his off-season workouts, and there's no longer a brace that he has been wearing all off-season on the wrist, which is good because we talked about it a lot recently on going into training camp. How healthy is J-Dub's wrist going to be? Is it going to be a lingering problem, or is he going to be 100% fully healthy for the season? And it was just a thing that happened towards the end of the year, and we can move past it, and we're not having to worry about this upcoming season. And from what we've seen so far in the pictures and all that, it looks like he's good to go. It looks like we shouldn't have any problems. Obviously, we'll learn more about that as training camp is here in a few weeks, and we'll get the media asking questions and all that, and we'll kind of dive into more. But so far, so good. It looks like he's taken the brace off, and that's just a massive step for him. And it allows the Thunder not to have to worry about it, and us fans not worry about if it can be a lingering problem continuing into this season. But we'll kind of wrap up talking about another potential trade target and when I'm looking at these trade targets, I'm looking at guys whose contracts are expiring this year, where the Thunder don't have to worry about paying them beyond this season unless it's just on a crazy team-friendly deal. And for a guy that I think the Thunder could look at just because of his pure shooting ability is another contender out on the east side in the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that we could very well see contend with us for the championship in the finals this year. And it's kind of a tough thing because are the Cavs willing to trade somebody like that? If the Thunder do that, we might have to be giving up some things. But I think the Cavs could look at the Thunder's bench players and the guys that aren't going to make a big enough impact in the playoffs, and maybe you get some picks out of it. Maybe you get a Topic, maybe you get an Usman Jang in there, maybe a Kenrich, a guy who obviously Dean Wade is for the Thunder going to be a great shooter, another guy that we can rely on to spread the floor and really just shoot the lights out for the Thunder when we know that three-point shot was our biggest weakness in this upcoming season. So if we can address it by getting one of those guys, and it might be tough getting it from another contender, but a guy I would be, if the Cavs are maybe struggling, maybe want to get off of his contract and look at maybe they want somebody bigger, we could go after that. But that'll be it for me today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button down below. It helps out the channel so much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.